The person in this image is John Needham, an ex-veteran who experienced intense combat war in Iraq. Well, after a failed attempt of suicide, he decided to go back home to his family. But some months later, he got in a fight with his girlfriend, resulting in him accidentally killing her. Well, he said that something on that moment triggered him, making him put in practice his old military training of neutralizing traits. In his own words, he said that he saw it just complete chaos, complete insanity. He saw himself being uncontrollable. He never wanted this to happen. Hello, my name is Sarah Correa, and I'm gonna talk about the effects of PTSD on people's decision-making process. So my first question is, how does PTSD lead people to have a distorted perspective of life situations affect their brain's decision-making process? Well, to help me answer that, we can see the results of the experiment made by Liana Zenet. In her experiment, she exposed animals to non-predators and predator sounds. And as a result, as we can see, animals exposed to predator sounds had much more fearfulness responses than the ones exposed to non-predator sounds. For the simple fact that when they heard the predator sound, it clearly means there is danger near them and they need to take an action, because if no, they're gonna die. So my response to that, PTSD myself with brain areas responsible to make decisions, and also their neurochemical system, which can result in problems in the information processing and also decision-making process, which can lead them to make less rational decisions. So to help us understand better that, I'm going to focus about the context, how normal brains make decisions in normal situations, the causes, how external effects influence our decisions, and how they can introduce PTSD in our brains, and then finally consequences, the long-term effects of PTSD in people's decision-making process. So to start, our brain makes decisions by the connection of a lot of brain areas, but especially the connection between the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. As you can see in this image, it's trying to simulate the activation of the brain areas when a brain makes decision. As you can see here, the prefrontal cortex has colored areas, which represents the activation of the brain areas when a person makes decisions. So it's also important to understand how other factors can influence our decisions. As you can see here in the red circle area right here, this is the hippocampus. And although it's really small compared to the whole brain, it has a deep impact on our decisions, for the simple fact that hippocampus is responsible to store our memories. So by that, values, morals, beliefs, things we learn through life, mistakes, and even happy moments in our lives, they're stored in our brain as memories to be used later as information to help us to make better decisions. One example of this, it can be seen in More Courage and Intelligent Disobedience by Ted Thomas, when he explained how soldiers sometimes has to disobey orders in order to do what's morally right, clearly showing how morals can play a role in our decisions. So with that, if our brains can store simple things such as mistakes, morals and values, what about traumas that are painful and unforgettable moments in our lives? Well, traumas not only just influence our decisions, but they also induce an action stage and emotional arousal, which can impair self-memory by disturbing the amygdala's interaction with the hippocampus, which can also introduce PTSD. So with that, PTSD can also disturb the neurochemical system by releasing too much neurochemicals such as cortisol in our brains due to the exposure of stress. And with this, it can affect the circuits between the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and hippocampus, and also can affect our stress responses. As you can see here in this image, it shows a brain with no PTSD, with the green areas represent the neurochemicals, and then brain with PTSD. And it clearly shows that a brain with PTSD has much more neurochemicals than a normal brain. So with all these factors, they can also result in the hyperactivation of the amygdala, which can affect the brain circuits, especially dysregulate the brain's information processing made by the prefrontal cortex. As we can see in this image, as PTSD levels become higher in a person, the amygdala, which is this yellow area right here, it increases too, due to the result of increased blood flow that happens with the PTSD. So as a result, all these factors can lead to people have overreactions, exaggerated fear responses, making less rational decisions, and also following more their intuitions. As you can see in this image, on this graph, as PTSD levels become higher in a person, their tendency to make rational decision-making styles, they decrease it, as we can see here. Also in a pretty similar situation, but as Ptsd levels become higher, their tendency to make intuitive decision-making styles, they increase it a lot, as we can see here. So this clearly shows that people with Ptsd tend to make more decisions based on their intuition rather than think about it to make the right decision. So in conclusion, although each person has different reactions and live problems in different ways, it's more the fact that Ptsd can affect our brain areas in multiple ways, and which can result in our brain areas and functions being disturbed, leading to negative perspective of lives, and also disturbing the decision-making process, which can result in people making bad decisions that can hurt others and themselves. This is my work cited. Thank you.
All right, Sarah, 2 questions for you. First up, what evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and then why didn't you use it?
I found a lot of information about the brain in general, about how other areas in the brain can influence our decisions. And I decided to discard a lot of this information because it would be too much. Because our brain is really complex and has a lot of connections and brain areas that can influence our decisions. So to make my decision more simple, better to understand, I decided to discard these other brain areas, and focus on just 3 of them that are most affected by the Ptsd, which is the hippocampus, amygdala, and prefrontal cortex.
All right, and what advice would you have for other people that want to research PTSD in the future?
I would suggest to people to focus on just one thing on the brain, just one area, because as I said before, our brain is complex and has a lot of areas that can affect our decisions. So when I started my research, it started to show a lot of information that I would lose focus on my research. So I would recommend them to look for what they're trying to find and focus on just one or some brain areas.